Hello, my loves, and welcome to Healing the Podcast with your host, Ashlyn Torrey. I'm a heels and burlesque instructor, a confidence mentor, and the creator of Studio Soli Luna, living in the gorgeous mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. In this safe and sacred portal, we will be having raw, real, and intentional conversations about dancing in a heel, spirituality, self-love, the dance industry, and all the taboo topics that dancers and women should be openly talking about. I am so excited to go on this journey with you. Now let the magic begin. Hello, my angels, and welcome back to the podcast. I am back with you today for a solo episode, bringing you a topic that, if you know me at all, you know that I could spend hours talking about this. And also, if you follow my work that I do on Instagram, on YouTube, and now here on the podcast, you'll know that I could talk all day about dancing in a heel. It's no secret that dancing in a heel completely changed my life, and I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what I mean by that when I say that it changed my life, because you're like, oh, it's a heel, what's the significance of that? How could it possibly change my life? I've worn heels my whole life, or I've hated heels my whole life. I don't see how that could possibly happen for me. And so I really just wanted to go into detail today about exactly how and why dancing in a heel can change everything for you, from your confidence to how you feel in your body, to what friendships you create, and just so much more. I've not only experienced these shifts myself, but I've seen so many women around me change through dancing in a heel. And I've seen so many friends that I have change through dancing in a heel. And it's just very powerful to me that adding dancing in a heel, how much it can change versus just doing the inner work, doing the spirituality work, going to therapy, doing the inner child healing. All of those things are powerful. But to me, the key was having the heel and stepping into my power through dancing in a heel. And so that's exactly what I want to share with you today, is just how and why it does this, why it elevates us to another level, to our highest self, and also how just implementing dancing in a heel 1 to 2 times a week can really change everything for you. So I am so excited to dive into this topic with you. Let's get right into it. So the first way that dancing in a heel can change your life is that it elevates you energetically. And it does this by elevating you physically, right? So when you put on a heel, you are taller, you stand a little bit more bold in your power, you have this presence about you. And what is that doing? It is giving you confidence, right? So when we are elevating ourselves energetically, it means that our energy is getting brighter, it's getting more radiant, aka it's getting more confident, right? And so I remembered the first time that I walked into a heels class. I was coming from a lot of trauma. I had left the ballroom world. I was coming off an injury. I went through a breakup. My confidence was at an all-time low. And I just remember Tia, the teacher of Heel in a Heel at the time, she said, dancing in a heel, it elevates you. It elevates you closer to your highest self, to your goddess energy, right? To the heavens. You're like on this whole new level, right? And that's why I love dancing in a heel. And I never liked heels, like wearing heels in general was never really my thing. But now I understand why people wear a heel. Not only does it look beautiful on women, but also it is kind of like this energy, right? When you see a woman walking in a heel down the street, you're like, oh my gosh, she has her shit together. She is confident in who she is. There's just something about it. And it does the same thing to us when we aren't dancing. It is elevating us energetically, and it gives us this confidence to kind of step into this version of ourselves that we don't normally step into. I feel like 80% of us would not go to our closet in the morning and grab a pair of heels. Most of us are going to grab something comfortable. I feel like my go-to is just a pair of sandals or a pair of slide-on shoes that I can just easily slide on and go. But when you make that conscious decision to wear a heel, it's like, oh girl, it is go time. You know, you're putting on your heels or going out with your friends, and there's an energy about it. And we bring that same energy to dance class when we put on a heel. It is very different for me when I do the same moves that I do in my heels or burlesque classes without the heel. Let's say when I'm choreographing them at home and I'm not dancing in my heel, there's a completely different energy. It's like I don't turn all the way up until I have the heel on, because it just feels so incredibly different to me. So what that does is it elevates your energy. It creates this confidence about you, and you really are using that energy that you get on the dance floor to turn it into confidence in your real life. So that's why I love dancing in a heel. That's why I love kind of this mirror that's between dance and real life. It's because whatever we experience on the dance floor, it is so easy to take that into our daily life. So in this instance, where it's elevating us energetically, it's giving us this presence, this confidence, now we know what that feels like. It feels really good. And we can take that into our job. We can take that into our relationships and our friendships. And that's what's so cool. The more consistent you are with dancing in a heel, you're going to see that who you are on the dance floor starts to become a piece of you off of the dance floor. And that's what we're looking for. It's not just about that temporary feeling that we get in dance class. It's like, oh, actually, I can have this feeling all the time. I can create this energy anytime that I want to. And that's what is so powerful about this work and about dancing in a heel. It's really cool because I feel like so many of us bring into dance class things that need to be worked through and things that need to be healed. And for me, I had always had trouble with my confidence, even before I quit ballroom and had the breakup and all the things. Confidence to me was always really, really challenging because as women, we are taught to not be confident. We're taught that confidence is cockiness, right? We're taught that it is, a turn off, quote unquote, to be confident. And so when we step into a place like a heels class, like a burlesque class, that not only accepts confidence, but encourages it, we start to see that it's actually okay. It's okay to be confident. It's amazing to be confident in who we are. But so many of us are trained to not be that way and told that it's bad and told that it will keep us from getting the job, making the money, getting the husband, having the family with the white picket fence and all the things. So we close off and we hide that part of ourselves and we just keep it small and small and small until all of a sudden it's just gone. We have zero confidence. We don't even really know who we are anymore. And to me, that's one of the best parts about what I do is seeing women reclaim and refine and discover their confidence and start to see them like having a reunion with their confidence in dance class and with who they really are at their core. Because all of us come onto this planet confident, right? You think about little kids, little girls, especially. I think about myself when I was little and I would, have the ballerina outfits on and the princess outfits on, and I would be performing and singing, and I would be, so confident in who I was and just wanting everyone to look at me and really take up space. And then that starts to go away as we get older and as we are conditioned more and more. And so it's almost kind of like a rediscovery as well of our inner child as we take dance classes and as we become more comfortable moving our bodies in this way and dancing in a heel. It feels playful. It feels natural as well because that's what we did when we were kids, It's like coming back home to yourself in a way that allows that space and safe space for your confidence to come through. And it's also really nice that just the heel can give you that amount of confidence. Even if I go into dance class in a pair of sweatpants and my hair is like all crazy and I don't have any makeup on, but I put on a heel, I feel so different. And it's that same aspect of how powerful the heel is, especially when you give that heel the intention of like, this is my confidence piece. When I put these on, I know I'm just going to feel so good and powerful in my body. And also a key to this too, because I've seen so many women come into heels classes and have a heel that is too tall and too skinny on. And what happens is that takes your confidence way, way down. Okay, so you want to make sure that when you come into a heels class, come into a burlesque class, that you're coming at the level that you're at. Don't try to push yourself to be in a tall, skinny stiletto before you even know how to walk in your heels. My mentor Tia used to say, if you can't walk in your heels, you can't dance in your heels. So if you are uncomfortable walking in them, girl, you cannot dance in those things. Take them off. I remember I was teaching a burlesque class at dance club one time, and it was one of my first classes, and I had someone come into class with pole shoes on. And honestly, I didn't really notice it until she almost like broke her ankle. And I felt so terrible because it wasn't something at that point that I talked about at the beginning of class, was the type of heels to wear. And now that is one of the most important parts of my work, is making sure that people know what type of heel to wear, because the type of heel that you wear creates the confidence. If you feel really stable and strong in your heels, you're going to be more confident. But if you feel really wobbly and off balance and like you are going to break an ankle in your heels, then it's not going to be good for you. So that is super important. Start with a shorter, thicker heel and work your way up to stiletto. It took me 2 years to get to a stiletto, and your girl still feels a little wobbly sometimes. So just be gentle and patient with yourself. But the type of heel that you have, as long as you feel good and strong in it, it will create so much confidence for you. The second way that dancing in a heel can change your life is that it really gives you this true sense of body love and appreciation. And what I mean by that, it's not even just an external experience, it's a very internal experience. Because like I said, when I did start dancing in a heel, I had just come off of an injury. And I was so proud of my body for being able to do that. I really didn't know if my body was going to cooperate and feel safe and pain-free dancing in a heel. I didn't know. But when I was able to do that, and also I was able to do things, and I think it was the combination of being in a safe space. It was the combination of my instructor. It was the combination of a lot of things, all of the amazing women around me and the support. But I felt more comfortable trying things that I would never have tried on my own, for fear of injury or for fear of the fact that I would look silly or I just couldn't do it. Instead, I went for it and I tried it, and it actually worked. I was so surprised at what my body could do, the splits that I could get into, the floor work that I could do, hair whips, all the things that for someone who had a hard time walking in a heel, all of a sudden I could dance in a heel and do all of these things. It just created this really beautiful sense of gratitude for my body, and just, wow, like I'm so grateful for you for letting me do this and for holding space for me to do this. And I really think that women have low expectations of what their bodies can do and how their bodies can move and how good it can feel. But when you are in a safe space and you are surrounded by people that are supporting you and guiding you in a really loving way, and you believe in yourself and you have the heel on, which is giving you this confidence, your body can do things you would have never dreamed it can do. And it creates a loving and safe space for all bodies as well. So let's say your body can't move in a certain way because you do have an injury or a limitation. That's also okay. And I always felt pressure in the ballroom industry to do things that I wasn't comfortable with, or I didn't have proper instruction for, or my body just simply wasn't ready to do. And I did them anyway, and I ended up injured. So that's also a beautiful thing as well. Like if your body can't do something, or if you are fearful right now to get into something, or it's causing you any pain whatsoever, then you just modify it, change it. That's what I love about my burlesque classes, is I always let everyone know if there's a move that doesn't feel good on your body, or that you don't like, or that you can't do. I have a lot of students that have vertigo and they can't do the hair whips and stuff. girl, you do you, you know? Like, I'm giving you the steps, you make it the dancing. You get to decide how you want to do the moves, if you want to even do them at all. And so it's a really safe space for bodies, and it's also a really accepting space for all bodies. And it gives you that gratitude and appreciation for your body, because a lot of our issues around our body image come from the fact that we think our bodies are working against us, right? We've been fed all of this bullshit from the media about how women's bodies should look. And then we get frustrated with our body because they don't look that way, or we get frustrated with our body because we can't get into this particular yoga asana, or we can't get into this particular pole move, or whatever it is. But instead, why not finding the appreciation for what our bodies can do, working with our bodies, having gratitude for our bodies? They're more likely to work with us and to actually start to move in the ways that we want them to if we are sending them loving messages versus very toxic and hateful and angry messages. So dancing in a heel and the space that comes with, whether it's a burlesque or heels class, provides that. It provides you an hour and a half, 2 hours to step into this space where you're just feeling a lot of love for yourself and for your body. The third way that dancing in a heel can change your life is that it can really help to tap you into your sensuality. And I used to think that sensuality and sexuality were the same thing, and I was just so out of touch with both, but especially my sensuality. And sensuality to me is embracing all of the senses, right? It's like everything is heightened energetically and physically and emotionally. You know, your sense of touch and smell and taste. It is like everything is on another level. You are really feeling into your body versus being disconnected. You're feeling into your emotions instead of being disconnected. And so what heels and burlesque does is a lot of the movements are very sensual. And sometimes we're not even used to touching our bodies in a loving way. And I'm not talking about sexually. I'm just talking about, like, have you ever touched your arm? You just like sit and rub your arm. Or do you ever take a moment to just feel your thighs and like appreciate them? That's sensuality. Sensuality is being in touch with your senses and feeling things very, very deeply. And also, I had always thought that sensuality, again, was like very similar to sexuality, and they're just completely different things. But I thought that sensuality meant that I was expressing something for someone else, right? And I started that way. I can definitely say that when I started my heels and burlesque journey, I went through breakups. I was like, let me get some attention, okay, from these sexy class videos. But very quickly I realized, and I realized this through my amazing mentors, that it is always an internal experience before it's an external experience. If you go into it with the outlook of like, I want to impress someone or something, that's fine. You're just probably not going to feel the benefits for yourself as much as if you were like, this class is for me. This is my time to get in touch with my body, to feel into my senses, instead of it being about someone else. Because so much of our lives revolve around everyone else. And this is a time for you to just worry about yourself, to take care of yourself. It's the ultimate form of self-care when you are tapping into your sensuality through dance, and especially through dancing in a heel. And when you know what feels good in your body, when you know how to, like I said, just touch your body in a gentle and loving way, and to get really comfortable with yourself. Again, it goes along with the confidence piece that we talked about before. Your sex life will also be really good, okay? It goes both ways. When you're in touch with your body, when you're feeling good about yourself, when you are confident, when you know how to connect to your senses, of course that's going to make your sex life better, because that's what sex is all about. It's about this connection piece. It's about sensuality, being in touch with your senses. If you're not embodied, if you're in your head and in your mind, your sex isn't going to be good. And also, you're never going to leave with that feeling of like it's supposed to give you. Like, you're loved and you're accepted and you're in touch with your body and your divine feminine. You're not going to get any of that if you were in the mind. And so what Dancing in Heel does is it puts us into the body, which then allows us to embrace our senses and to find that really deep connection of sensuality. And then, of course, the sexuality piece just comes along with that as well. And especially for me, being in my sexuality always was something that was very taboo and fearful, especially from the family and the religious culture that I come from. And so it was really refreshing to not only know that it could just be for me as well, because a lot of times sex and sexuality and religion is so taboo, but then it's also like the only way that you can experience that is focused towards another person. And it was cool to kind of take my power back and be like, actually, this is for me and it's not for anyone else. And I don't really care what anybody says about this because I'm doing it for myself and it feels good within me and my senses are heightened and alive and I'm feeling like a goddess. Yes. So that's exactly what I want for you. I want you to start to get into your body, get into your senses through dancing in a heel and just see how that changes everything from your sensuality to your sexuality and just how comfortable you feel with both of those things, because we could be enjoying our life so much more if we were a little bit more present, if we are a little bit more in our senses. Sensuality to me is a very, very powerful sense of presence, because you can't be sensual if you're not present, right? Because it's all about the feeling. It's all about, how does this feel? How does this make me feel? What emotions are coming up? You know, all of those things. And so it teaches you how to do that when you're dancing, and it teaches you how to maybe do that in your intimate life. And then it also teaches you how to do that in your life. You can walk through your daily life being sensual, and that has nothing to do with being like overtly sexual. It's just like everything's heightened. You're noticing the beauty of the trees. You're noticing how the raindrops feel on your face. It's raining as I'm recording this podcast. So that's one of the best feelings, is when it starts to rain and you just enjoy the raindrops on your face. Or you can enjoy the sensation of how the coffee smells as it's being ground at the coffee shop. That is sensuality. And that's what we're looking for, is this ultimate sense of presence. So one of my favorite ways that dancing in a heel can change your life is manifestation, baby, and how magnetic you are when it comes to manifesting the things that you desire. And this sounds like it's not related, but let me tell you how, because I have seen not only myself, but so many women that I work with, as we start to incorporate dancing in a heel and the spiritual work into their life, how much they manifest. It is incredible. And I'm not talking about manifesting like a piece of clothing. I'm talking about manifesting homes and new jobs and side hustles and relationships. I had someone manifest their partner in my first round of CHM of confidence. And this is like a partner for life kind of partner. And it was amazing, because once you elevate your sense of self-worth, so once your self-worth is high, you can do anything. You can manifest anything that you want. But if you don't have a high sense of self-worth, you cannot manifest from that place. Dancing in a heel teaches you how to step into your worth, because it's about strength, and it's about empowerment, and it's about being reliant on yourself, which is very interesting coming from the ballroom world. I always felt like I had to rely on someone else. I always felt like that my sense of self-worth relied on someone else. But when it's just you and your heels on the dance floor, it's about you. And that increases your self-worth through loving your body and through focusing on your sensuality. Through all these things I've mentioned previously, you start to see yourself in a new light. You start to watch your dance videos and you're like, man, who is this girl that is up there moving her body like she loves herself and finally feels like she's worthy of the things that she wants, versus settling for all the things that she knows she can deserve more than, you know? And I feel like most of us are used to that. We're used to settling for less. But when you start to put yourself in these environments around this high vibe energy, this high frequency energy of dancing in a heel, as well as the people that attracts, it expands your awareness of what's possible, which is the first step of manifestation. And then the second step would be that self-worth piece. You start to really develop this loving relationship with yourself that is very true. It's not like a Instagram quote self-love. It's a very deep sense of self-love where you accept yourself fully. And this creates a high sense of self-worth. Ultimately, you just value yourself more, and that creates magnetism. I have manifested so much, like I said, after I started dancing in a heel. I've manifested everything from my relationship to money, to quitting my job, to homes and apartments. I've manifested travel. I've manifested my dream wedding. All of these things were things that I very much had to be in my worth in order to receive. And it's so possible. I think a lot of people think that things like manifestation and stuff like that is very much out of their reach. And it's so simple. When we are vibrating on the same frequency that our dreams are vibrating as, then we can manifest. Otherwise, we're just always going to be dreaming about it and talking about it and wishing for it, but it's actually never going to happen. When we actually start to believe that those things can come to us, that again, we are worthy of them, that's when they start to flow through. And then the fifth and final way that dancing in a heel can change your life is through community and friendship. I talked about this in my first episode, but I cannot reiterate enough the friendships and the connections that dancing in a heel has brought into my life. And I feel like there are a few reasons for this. And one is that it bonds you in a very specific environment, right? Like we've talked about, it's safe, it's loving, it's supportive, which is very different for 90% of the dance classes out there. There's not this competitive energy. It's really this camaraderie. I remember meeting one of my closest friends, shout out to Greta, who I am so excited to have on the podcast very soon. I remember meeting her in a burlesque class in Salt Lake, and we just clicked instantly. A lot of times people come into these classes healing through something, moving through something, trying to find that connection with their body, trying to create community. And it just brings you together in a very special way. And, you know, really close friendships that I have, like Greta and like Winter, that you guys got to hear on the podcast, those connections all started in the dance class. And a lot of times, whenever I've taken dance in the past, it never felt safe to go and like create connection and strike up a conversation because you felt like everybody was there for themselves. And it was very much like, don't talk to me, I'm training. And this was more like, hey, we are getting to see each other in these very beautiful and vulnerable and sensual ways. Let's build a connection. You know, we're all experiencing the same thing. We're all going through shit in our lives that we're healing and moving through. Like, how can we create a similarity, a bond, a connection? And I used to kind of, I don't want to say I didn't care about female friendships, or I just didn't see the value in them because I was so focused on myself and on my ballroom career. But once I started dancing in a heel and taking burlesque classes, I saw the value. I saw that having female friendships in your life, women that empower you, there is nothing more inspiring and motivating than that. Yes, you can have your partner and you can have your family, but it's those friendships, those people that support you on your journey, that love you no matter what, that talk to you and support you when you're going through things, that genuinely care about you. And you've created all of this around this bond of dance. No matter what background you're coming from, no matter what experiences you've had in the past, like dance is the thing that brings you together. And that's what's important about dancing, and especially dancing in a heel. There are so many unique people that walk into these classrooms, all genders, all ethnicities, all different types of backgrounds, but yet we connect over this one very special experience of dancing in a heel, of stepping into our power, of elevating our energy, of loving our bodies. We're coming together in this way that truly creates bonds for life. I recently went back to Salt Lake City for my bachelorette party, and I hadn't seen these women in a few years because I had moved back to Asheville. And it was like no time had passed at all. It is like I had been there the past 2 years. And it was just so fun. And that's exactly what women empowering women means. Again, it's not just an Instagram quote graphic. It's really this unconditional love, unconditional support, and this connection around movement. And so you can really build some loving relationships, some special relationships in these spaces, in burlesque classes, in heels classes. There's been beautiful connections built in my programs and my memberships as well, because everyone's kind of connecting over these same things. Everyone's connecting around these specific experiences that we have in a heels class. I love it. I have never experienced anything like it in my life, and it's really, again, shown me the importance of having strong, loving, supportive female friendships in my life. And it also has taught me as well what to accept and what to not accept from friendships. And I feel like that's not something that's talked about a lot, but when you see how good friendships can be, and a lot of my best friendships have come either from dance or we bonded over dance in some way. Most of the people that I love in my life are dancers. And there's a very specific reason for that. Dancers are just incredible people, and for the most part, not all dancers, but the ones that I choose to spend my time around, there's something so special about them, especially those of us who choose to do more sensual forms of movement, more empowering forms of movement. It just creates a really special type of human. And I'm so grateful to have these relationships in my life, to have experienced the community that I've experienced in the heels and burlesque worlds. There is truly nothing like it. It's so magical. So as you babes can see, these changes in my life are not tiny changes. They are major changes. And I am sharing all of this with you so that maybe you can feel inspired and motivated to put on a heel and take a class of your own. Or if you already have dabbled in heels or burlesque, maybe you've taken a break. I hope that this can inspire you to go back into it. And recently, I have been working one-on-one with some of my clients, and a lot of them had either taken a break from dancing in a heel after the program, after Confidence, and they were kind of just doing the inner work. And I could tell that they weren't dancing, because the issues that were coming up are the same issues that they were having that we worked through as they were dancing in a heel, and they were improving. And then all of a sudden they stopped dancing in a heel, just started learning again, focusing on the inner work. And all of a sudden it was back to that same space. And I told them, I said, look, I love the inner work and learning as much as anyone, but the heel, it's the heel, baby. The heel is the key. And so if you find yourself kind of resisting, remember how it makes you feel, or come back to this podcast and remind yourself of all of the benefits that can come when you put on a heel and you shake your booty and you feel so good in your skin. It can really do so much for you and benefit your life in so many ways. And I'm also sharing this now because my program, Confidence, the Heels Method, is officially open for enrollment. And I encourage you that if you've always wanted to learn how to dance in a heel, or if you again have taken a break, or maybe you just really want to dive into the foundations and really build up your heels and burlesque technique while also doing that really deep, beautiful, spiritual inner work, then I invite you to hop on a call with me and see how this program could support you. I've seen it change so many women's lives, and I would love to have you in this next round if that's something that sounds interesting and exciting for you. Just click the link below in the show notes to learn more, and we can definitely chat so much more about it on a call together. But otherwise, if you have a studio near you, sign up for a class, put yourself out there. I promise it will be the best decision that you've ever made. And also, if you don't have a studio and you just want to get your feet wet, test the waters, I have so many free classes on my YouTube channel. You could spend hours and hours training through my YouTube. So just invite you to do that. Buy some heels on Amazon, buy some Burlesque heels, which is my heel of choice if you're very serious about dancing in a heel, and just go for it. Just see what happens when you put on a heel and elevate yourself. See what changes can come for you. So I love you, babes, to the moon and back. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. We will have another solo episode next week, and then I will be back with an interview for you, babes. So stay tuned for that, and I will chat with you, babes, soon. Mwah. Thank you, babes, so much for joining me today. If you love this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It really helps the podcast to be discovered by all of the amazing women who could benefit from this work and from healing in a heel. Also, don't forget to follow along on Instagram at Studio Slowly Luna and on YouTube to stay up to date on all the heels, burlesque, and spirituality content that your soul desires.